Blog Talk Radio.
Readers Entertainment Radio presents Booklights with your host, author Lisa Kessler. Booklights, where we're shining a light on good books.
Hello, everyone. Can you believe it's May? Anyway, I'm so glad that you guys are here. Wherever you are, I hope the flowers are blooming, and it's probably the perfect time to talk to our next guest, author Eileen Garvin, because all the flowers bloom and then all the bees come back. But anyway, if you haven't read Eileen's books yet, her most recent one is actually Crow Talk, so I'm sure we'll talk about crows. But before the show started, we were talking all about bees, and she does have a fantastic book called The Music of Bees, which is also out, so I promise we'll talk about that later. But if you haven't read her books yet, I will read her bio here so you can get to know her. Eileen Garvin is a beekeeper and a writer who lives in Oregon. Her debut novel, The Music of Bees, was a national bestseller and named a Good Morning America Buzz pick, with the bees, Good Housekeeping Book Club pick, a People Magazine Best New Book, and an Indie Next pick, Library Reads pick, Christian Science Monitor pick, and as well as Washington Post Best Summer Reads. And she has been in magazines, so you may have read her in Psychology Today. And her new novel, Crow Talk, is available now everywhere. I did put a link to her website right there on Blog Talk, so if you are listening live today or if you're listening later, you can click that link anytime and go check out her books, her articles, and also I think there's a newsletter you can sign up to so that you will be the first one to know about new projects coming out as well. So without any further delay, are you there, Eileen?
I'm here.
All right. I'm so glad to have you on today. I know we were already having an in-depth discussion, but your new book is not about bees. Can you tell everybody about Crow Talk and why they should go grab a copy?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Crow Talk is almost a week old today.
Happy 1 week birthday.
Thank you. It's still brand new. It's like a brand new baby, but it's not crying. So let's see. What can I tell you? So Crow Talk is a story about three sort of wounded people whose lives intersect at a remote alpine lake, following a chance encounter with an injured baby crow. So I have three main characters. One is an ornithologist who's struggling to finish her graduate work, and after having a falling out with her advisor. There's an Irish musician and composer who's in conflict with her husband about how to raise their little boy. And my third character is that little boy. His name's Aiden, and he's 5 and bright little kid. And about 18 months before the story opens, he stopped speaking, and nobody knows why. So these are my three people in Crow Talk, and so as you might guess, the book is a lot about finding your voice, really literally and figuratively, in the creative work of these two women, and then the actual voice of this little boy.
Oh, I love that. And when you were thinking about writing this book, had you had an encounter with a bird? What inspired this?
Well, the crow part came about because I am an English major with a deep, deep envy of biologists because I have no science mind, but I love reading about science. I love writers, especially that can convey. I don't put myself in this camp necessarily, but naturalist writers who can convey the scientific research they're doing for a lay audience. I love it. But as close as I'm going to get to science is creating characters that are scientists, and so I chose the biologist, the avian biologist, for that reason. But the book came to me really out of an experience I had during the pandemic of not being able to go to the natural world, which is my place. It's my happy place. It's where I find solace and comfort, and that's a lifelong connection I've had. And during the pandemic, where I live in Oregon, we had everything shut down, as I'm sure people did everywhere, for a period
Right.
of time. And I was very aware of how much I needed the woods for my mental health and just for connection. And so I was able during that time to get back to a really special family place. And when I was there, that's where the idea for the story was seeded in me. And then later I thought, okay, what if I took 3 people with problems and put them in a similarly beautiful, comforting location and see how the natural world might help contribute to their healing.
Oh, I love that. And when you were writing The Little Boy, I'm just guessing because I poked around on your website and I went and read one of your Psychology Today articles, but you have a sister with autism, right? I
do. I have 4 siblings. One of my sisters has severe autism. I say severe because she has communication difficulties, pretty extreme communication difficulties. And when we were growing up, it was an era in which autism was not familiar to most people. So no one didn't understand what was going on with us. And Margaret has had a huge impact on me. I wrote my first book about her. It's called How to Be a Sister. But she's also just influenced me as a writer and a person because of her very unique way of experiencing the world. And I observed that, alongside her. It's been extremely formative for me.
Is that kind of what plays into The Little Boy Who Stopped Speaking? Were you inspired some from your sister's experiences?
Definitely. I was definitely inspired by my sister's experience. And I specifically, I realized when I was thinking this over, that she didn't learn to speak until she didn't learn to speak. She didn't speak until she was 7. I'm sure she knew how, but she just wasn't. She was not talking at all till she was 7, and I was 4 because I'm 3 years younger than she is. But I never had a memory of her not communicating with me. And the older I've just been kind of fascinated with that. Like, I think little kids are amazing how we accommodate for each other and how we connect without traditional language. In this particular instance, I always was aware of, or trying to be aware of, what Margaret wanted or what she needed, what she was thinking, without her being able to articulate it in typical language. So when I crafted the character of Aiden, I was thinking of that. How can this little boy articulate the world he's experiencing if he's not talking to people in a traditional way?
I love that. And did it bring up like memories of your childhood as you were writing it? Did you decipher things and go, oh, because I know when I'm writing, a lot of times I put things on the page and then I realize, ooh, that's now I'm unlocking parts of me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I totally agree with you. The writing process is very much revelatory. I heard many writers say, I write to learn what I think, and certainly I've had that experience. But just as a small example, what I just said about Margaret not talking till she was 7, I had forgotten that until I was writing this. And then, I mean, I didn't even put that in my memoir, but it was just something that was, family lore. This happened and so-and-so was born, and Margaret went to speech therapy, and she didn't start talking till she was 7. And I thought, I just kind of remembered that in the course of this, and was thinking how interesting that we just sort of incorporated that into the fabric of the family, and the child, the sibling language, that we just kind of ran with that because that's the way it was.
Right, yeah. And as a little kid, since you were younger than her, you probably had no frame of reference to know that was odd. It was just how it was, right?
How it was. Yeah. Yeah, and I was, even though I was younger than she is, I was always sort of in a caretaking role, if that makes sense, because the 2 siblings closer to her in age were boys, and I think this just still happens. There's this default thing where the girls sort of end up more in a caretaking role. So we have a very funny mixed up birth order situation. People say, oh, you're the baby, and I say, no, never was the baby. But Yeah, I think that I had a particularly unique relationship with her because we were like the two youngest together because of her limitations.
Right. And are you still in touch with her? Does she live near you, or do you guys meet up? How do you stay in touch?
She lives in our hometown, which is Spokane. It's about 4.5 hours from where I live. So keeping in touch with Margaret is really, there's only one way to do that, which is to be in her company. She doesn't like the phone. Okay. She talk like FaceTime and things aren't very comfortable for her. She can't travel by herself. So really the only way I can connect with her is to go up there, which I do. We just celebrated her birthday recently. Yeah.
Aw. Does she know that you write books?
I don't know. I mean, I suppose, I don't know if it would make much sense to her. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't really know if that would, really, if she'd be able to
she would understand what that is.
Yeah.
Well, when you decided that you were, actually, I guess I should go back to your writing journey. So you said that you were an English major in college. Did you always want to be a writer? How did you end up getting books published?
I am fascinated when I hear writers say, I always knew I wanted to be a writer, because that would never have occurred to me to say that. I think partly it was just lack of confidence, and growing up in a big family where there wasn't really time.
Right.
There was time to consider individual needs. So I loved reading, and I had never in my wildest dreams would I have thought I could be a writer. If I thought that, I might have gone to journalism school or something, but instead I did my English degree, and then I kind of went through this period of very questionable employment, just trying to find work as an English major in the 90s. Not easy. I ended up back in graduate school, and then in between my master's and PhD, I accidentally got a job at a newspaper, and as soon as that happened, I was totally hooked on writing. I got a job in Albuquerque at a weekly paper, and the process of interviewing and researching and putting it all together in a story and editing it and then seeing it in print was just magical to me. So that's really where my writing career began. And my first book came out of having moved from there where I had stable employment and lots of professional connections, and I moved to a small town in Oregon where I didn't know anybody. And I started freelancing, which turns out to be another word for underemployment. And with the underemployment, I had free time to let my own stories begin to percolate. And that's when I sat down and started writing How to Be a Sister, and with just families. It began with family stories that I wanted to just get down on paper for all of us. But then at the same time, as always happens, like you mentioned earlier, how writing is revelatory, I realized, I'm not just writing down funny stories of our hilarious and heartbreaking childhood. I'm writing about now what do I do? How do I connect with my sister now as an adult? And that book grew out of there. And my first novel didn't come along until quite a bit later, actually, because I got a full-time job, which is just doom. It's just, I was so grateful for it, but it's just doom to creative writing because you just don't have the time. So there were 11 years between my memoir coming out and my first novel, during which time I had a lot of fun writing for a custom publisher in Portland, Oregon, but I didn't have a lot of time for my own writing. So, and now novel number 2. So I feel really lucky that I figured out how to make that happen, and with scheduling the time, making it a priority, and letting that creative work have a place to live and thrive.
Right. Well, and when you made that jump, because like when I work with writers who are journalists, the hardest part for them of writing fiction is remembering that you're God and you can make anything happen. It doesn't have to be real, right? And then you wrote a memoir, which is pretty close to journalism because it's as best as you can remember. So how hard was it for you to make that leap to writing fiction where you get to make the rules?
It was surprisingly easy, I think partly because it came out of nowhere. It totally took me by surprise. I had no thought of writing fiction. I haven't studied fiction or creative writing. I don't have an MFA. And I was, and the story just came to me when I was on a car ride. I was driving on an errand actually to pick up some new bees. You and I were talking about bees earlier. So I was going to get a starter hive. And I know a lot of people have had this experience where you just get the best ideas when you're driving in the car or walking the dog or whatever. But I got the first sentence to the novel came to me while I was driving in the car, and I wrote it down knowing I would forget it if I didn't, and it really just came out of that. And I had sidebar, my dog had just had surgery and needed 12 weeks of she needed to be, quiet and not walk. She had an ACL tear. So I knew I was going to be sitting with her for a lot of the daytime to keep her quiet. And I just started working on the book. And I had that excuse of needing to be home, work at home for 12 weeks. I typed the first sentence and just worked on it for 12 weeks until I realized, wow, I think this might actually be a whole novel. So it really completely surprised me.
Oh, I love it. You want to tell everybody what The Music of Bees is about?
Sure. Yes, I'd love to. The Music of Bees tells the story of three lonely strangers whose lives intersect at a beekeeping farm in Oregon. There's a middle-aged beekeeper who is recently widowed and grieving the unexpected loss of her husband, and also has a job at the county that's just kind of a dead-end job, and she's feeling very unappreciated. And she meets Jacob Stevenson, who has the tallest mohawk in the history of Hood River Valley High School. And that's actually the sentence that came in the car. Jacob Stevenson had the tallest mohawk in the history of Hood River Valley High School. That was Jacob was born able-bodied and just kind of a feisty upstart kid and a musician, and he's going to music school, but right before graduation the year prior, he has this dumb accident, as often happens with teenagers. He has an accident at a high school party, and now he is facing a totally different life than he expected. He's paraplegic. And then there's one more character whose name is Harry Stokes, who's 24. He's kind of a drifter. He doesn't seem to have anything, obviously wrong with him, but he just made some poor choices, spent a little time in jail, and now he's trying to find his feet. And the three of them connect at Alice's farm, where she has a kind of a backyard hobby beekeeping operation. It's set in Hood River, which is where I live, so it's very scenic and beautiful. And as you might imagine, there's a lot in there about bees and beekeeping.
Yes, which obviously I find fascinating because we were chatting about that before the show. But you actually are a beekeeper, right? You have hives and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, I am, and they are pretty interesting. The more I study them, the more interested I am. And I started keeping bees in 2014. Anyone can get into it, for better or for worse. I made a lot of mistakes my first few years, but during the pandemic, I actually had a chance to complete my Master Beekeeper Apprentice certification with our local University Extension Service. So that's made me a much better beekeeper.
Well, I have to ask, why bees? Did you just wake up in 2014 and go, I think I need bees? What led to that?
It was another dog, actually, not the dog I mentioned before, but my dog before that dog, who was very, very old. She was 16 and so sweet. And that spring, I knew it was going to be really her last season, and I just wanted I wanted a distraction to take my mind off the fact that she was leaving me, and I also wanted was going to keep me close to home. So I spent that spring, putting the hives together, reading about beekeeping, installing my bees, and she was right there in the yard with me, hanging out in the grass. So it was kind of a sweet transitional hobby, I suppose, for letting go of her. I'd had her, my husband and I got her right after we got married and had her for 16 years. So, just she really through many, many life milestones. And, so that's how it began. And then I just really enjoyed the mechanics of beekeeping and all I learned. I loved the honey, and once you get into it, it sort of takes over your life. I imagine I'm not a crafty person, but I have friends who are quilters and things like that, and it just seems like the materials for quilting and crafting, they breed overnight when you leave them alone in your craft room. And
right. You go in the room and go, what happened?
Yeah, exactly. So I went upstairs the other day where I keep my stuff in the garage, and I was thinking, good Lord, how does this happen? You suddenly need another piece of equipment and buy this thing, and pretty soon it kind of takes over. So warning to those who are curious about beekeeping, it can take over your life and your garage.
Well, when you decided that you needed a hobby where you would stay at home, what made it be bees? Because I would think I would understand quilting, but what made you decide, I think I want to get a beehive?
Yeah. Other people around me were getting into it, and I'm definitely not. I have no crafty skills, so that wasn't going to happen. But I think the thing that really piqued my interest was I had a friend who had a beehive with an observation window that where you could watch what they were doing. And before this, I would have told you that I was afraid of bees, afraid of getting stung. I wouldn't really have been able to tell the difference between a honeybee and a wasp. But watching them through my friend's hive window, they just looked so peaceful and interesting. And she told me a little bit about their behaviors and things, and I thought this seems like something I could get into.
Yeah, and we didn't talk about wasps earlier, but do having beehives attract wasps?
Sometimes they do. Yellow jackets get hungry in the end of the summer, as we all know, when we're trying to enjoy our corn and salmon.
Yes, and barbecue. They all show up. Yeah, rude.
And they're so rude. And apparently they have different needs. During the early season, they want carbohydrates, and in the summer, when they're harassing all of us, they need protein. That's why they're all over the barbecue plate. So yellow jackets will attack beehives, and they will go so far as to invade and go inside and eat the other bees and eat larvae and eat eggs. So bees, they have ways to defend the hive. But if I have a hive that's weak or under attack, I have to do things like, there's not much I can do, but I can reduce the front entrance to make sure that there's only room for a couple of insects to be flying in and out, because that helps them defend the front door better.
Oh, I see. Wow, I didn't realize that wasps are such jerks. I mean, I know that they are, but I didn't realize they would infiltrate the hive and eat them all.
Yeah, they will. And it's really fascinating to watch the bees defend themselves, because as I mentioned when you and I were talking earlier, they don't want to sting unless they absolutely have to, because they die after doing that. Just the one time, their stinger becomes embedded in the flesh of the victim, and it pulls out their internal organs when they fly away. But with wasps, they will 3 or 4 of these brave little honeybees will get on it and try to subdue it just by with the heat of their bodies. It's amazing to watch them a dog pile on it and hang out on the wasp and hold it down. And the wasps are much bigger, and they have more ability to bite and things. So anyway, I'm always it's like watching a movie.
Yeah, a horror movie.
Yeah, it's a horror movie, and you're rooting for the heroes, and they're getting, they're under attack. So they are fierce little creatures.
And wasps can sting like over and over and over, right? They're not like a bee.
Right, I think so. I don't know that much about them. I know they are in the ant family. They're not actually in the bee family. So I don't know. But I believe so. I mean, my experience with them has seemed to be that they sting over and over again.
Those jerks.
Yeah. so painful.
Yeah. Oh, wasps are the worst. Well, what is next for you? It seems like you have this friendship theme going. Are you working on your next book? Is it going to continue along that vein, or are you trying something different?
I am working on something new. Right now, I'm still happily occupied with book tour stuff, but once I get back to my writing life, I have another novel in the works that's similar in feel, it's set in the Pacific Northwest and deals with people and small town life and the problems we have. That seems to be a pond I like to swim in for some reason. I mean, definitely the Pacific Northwest, the setting of it, which is so dear to me and has such a central place in my own life. But then people's troubles and the way we manage our heartaches and challenges, that's something that interests me as a writer.
Nice. And do any of these books connect? Are they a series, or are they each standalones? Do the people ever meet the people from other books if they're all in the small town?
Yeah, they're I can't say about the third one because it's still coming together, but the Music of Bees and Crow Talk are standalones, though they are set in the same place. The Music of Bees takes place in Hood River, Oregon, and it's set, I think, if I remember correctly, I set it in 2014. And Crow Talk takes place in 1998, and there are scenes of Hood River in it, but most of it takes place at this remote alpine lake that I made up. It's supposedly at the foot of Mount Adams, which is not true, but I wanted to create this remote, beautiful place. And I set it in 98 because I didn't want to include smartphones, and
right.
I wanted my characters to have to deal with each other. So if you have to talk to somebody, it's in person, over the payphone, because it's really remote, this place, or through the U.S. mail. There's a little mail boat that comes and collects mail. And I had so much fun playing with old-fashioned communication and not using smartphones.
Right. Well, when I have thriller author friends on, we always discuss that the first most important thing is how to get rid of their phone.
Right,
water,
right.
Stolen, smashed.
Right, because if you have your phone, you could call the police, you could call your friend, you could whatever.
Exactly.
But yeah, so it makes you be more creative as a writer to take it out of there, right? I love that you do that with your thriller writer friends.
Yes. Well, because, you need to solve those things. Just like when YA authors are on, I don't write YA, but it's always funny to me to hear them talk about how they handle the parents, because usually if it's a YA where there's going to be an adventure, you either have to have parents who are very distracted or out of the picture, or there's been an accident or something, because they said good parents would never let you have this adventure.
Oh, that's so true. That's so true. I never thought of that, but I'm thinking of all my favorite YA books, and that's absolutely the case.
Yeah, and
like
I had never thought about it either. But yeah, when you write it, you have to take care of that problem, because a good parent would never let that happen.
Right. And if you had thoughtful parents present, you wouldn't have a story.
Exactly. We always want to see people grow, so there has to be brokenness at the beginning in order for that to happen.
Yeah.
Well, we're rapidly running out of time. So if a reader gets really excited about the book, what is the best way to connect with you? I love that now we can do that, because back in the day, in the 90s, I remember writing letters to Anne Rice and getting my books back signed and stuff like that. And
so great.
It was so much harder. But now when you get excited about a book, how can they connect with you?
People can contact me through my website, through the contact page at eileengarvin.com. And I'm also on Instagram and Facebook just under Eileen Garvin and easy to find. And I'd love to hear from people.
Yes, please reach out to authors. Totally makes our day and makes us write the next chapter. So
yes,
please reach out. Oh, well, thanks so much for being on with us today. It was really great chatting with you, and everyone should go grab Crow Talk. It just came out, and it sounds like it is going to be a fantastic, interesting read. I'm already very curious about little Aiden, who stopped speaking. And check out The Music of Bees and How to Be a Sister. And thanks so much for being here, Eileen.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really fun talking with you.
Okay, talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Readers Entertainment Radio presents Booklights with your host, author Lisa Kessler. Booklights, where we're shining a light on good books.